Hello. Welcome back to Life After Plus One. I'm Leanne, your podcast host and your single parent mentor and coach. And just a big shout out to anyone that's new, that's just discovered Life After Plus One. A big shout out and a hello to you guys. And also a massive shout out to all of you guys that have been following along for some time. Some of you since the beginning. Love you all and thank you all for coming back. And just for those of you that don't know, Life After Plus One is a place where I want it to be the place where you can get anything that you need to help you through your single parent journey. That's why I have the podcast. I have content on pretty much every platform you can think of. I've got my ebooks, I've got my blog, I've got my YouTube channel. Is there anything that, and my one-on-one coaching, of course. How could I forget that? That's the main part of it. So any part or any area you need support with as a single parent, I have you covered. The only thing I don't cover is the legal side of things because I'm not legally qualified. I'm here to help you through the emotional side of it all and all the ups and downs and the roller coaster and the challenges with your ex and dating and everything else that comes along with it. That's what I'm here for. And a lot of my clients that I do work with are going through the legal process. So I do know how challenging that is. However, when you are working with a lawyer or someone in the legal field, they don't help you with this side of things. They're just very black and white, by the book. This is what you got to do. This is what I need. This is when you're showing up. It's very much this. There is no support. There is no guidance. They may tell you what you need to do, but they don't tell you why. They don't give you much explanation, and you're just left scratching your head thinking, what the fuck is going on? I don't get it. What am I doing? And you're just left feeling like you're just guessing what's happening, or you're just putting your life in the hands of your lawyer because you just don't know what you're doing, and you're just feeling even more mentally and emotionally confused. And that's where someone like myself can come in. Because, and especially with my mediation preparation session, it's a session where I help you get in that right headspace. And it's for all areas of it. But for those of you that are going through mediation, there is a special session just for that, where we focus on mediation to help get you in that right headspace. But realistically, that is what all of my work is about. And that is what all my coaching is about. And we don't necessarily just focus on your ex. We focus on where you're at and what's that one topic that you're going through right now, currently, that you want support with. That is what we look at. And each week we'll tap into that and make it easier for you and give you little tools to take away with to help make your life so much easier. And that's what it's about. That is what it's about. Getting to that other side, getting through those little uncomfortable feelings where you might be like, I don't want to have to talk about that again. I don't want to have to deal with that. But do you know what? Delaying that process doesn't fix anything. It's still always going to be there. That short-term uncomfortableness of having to talk about those feelings, which isn't much, is so worth it for that long-term effect of actually getting through it and getting to that other side and realizing, what am I even holding on to? Why am I even getting upset by this? Why am I even getting triggered by this? And that's what happens when you actually work through it and you realize and you understand those feelings a little bit better. You understand those emotions and what's happening below the surface. It all makes sense. And you have your little aha moment and you think to yourself, I get it. I'm good. And that's what it is all about here at Life After Plus One. And in saying that, I'm kind of going to flip the script a little bit here because today's episode is about your ex. And here I am saying coaching is not about your ex, but this episode kind of is in a way. It's when you're dealing with an ex that you just don't want to deal with. You just think to yourself, I wish they were not in my life anymore. I hate having to deal with this person. I'm fed up. I can't deal with them. I'm sick of the messages. I'm sick of the games. I'm sick of the drama. I'm just sick of having to walk on eggshells for this person. I'm over it. I'm going to talk about that today. So let's unpack dealing with a toxic ex who just makes your life a living hell. Welcome to the Life After Plus One podcast, where we turn life's lemons into delightful lemonade. Get ready for inspiring stories, uplifting conversations, and all the tips and tricks to rock your single parent journey with style. I'm your host, Leanne,
and it's time to embrace the adventure of life after +1. So let's dive in.
Okay, so we've all probably dealt with someone in our life at some point. Well, mainly referring to your ex, where you just thought to yourself, I just don't want to deal with this person anymore. I'm fed up. I'm over it. I don't want this person in my life anymore. And for many of you, when you're first going through that breakup, it does sound easier, doesn't it? You just think to yourself, if only I didn't have to deal with this person. If only they just disappeared off the face of the earth. And I'm not going to lie to you. I have had that thought on multiple occasions. It doesn't bother me so much. It doesn't ever come up now. But when I first became a single parent, that's what I used to think. Wish I didn't have to deal with this person. How long is this going to last for? I don't want to have to deal with this person anymore. And you think this because they're making your life difficult. They're making it a living hell. They're complicating things. They're being toxic. They're being nasty. And what you probably don't realize is they were probably like this when you were with them. You may have just overlooked things. You may have swept things under the carpet. You may not have noticed this. Maybe it has escalated because you have just broken up. But the thing is, if they were like this when you were together, they're not just going to magically be your best friend now because they're your ex. And that's what a lot of people seem to forget. They just don't understand why their ex is so difficult. It's like you've just broken up. You're both going through heartbreak. You're both feeling betrayed and hurt and everything else. Even if the person that initiated, quite often, not always, but quite often, they do feel hurt and they do feel remorse and sadness, but not always. You do get those assholes who just disappear off and start a new relationship with not a care in the world. That's another Oprah show. But we're referring to when it does happen and you're both hurt, you're both in that situation and you can't understand why. And what a lot of people forget is it is your ex. They're not just going to make life easy for you. If only it was that simple. It's like dealing with your worst enemy all of a sudden. Your worst enemy is not just going to come up and shake your hand whenever you want something and not just going to pat you on the back when you've done a good job. That is not what your ex is going to do. And I feel like a lot of people have these unrealistic expectations of their ex, of what they want from them and what they expect or how they expect them to behave because they're the kids are the parent. But on the flip side of that, you're forgetting what's happened. You're forgetting who this person is. Now, that's great. Ideally, that's what you need to do. You want to forget. Well, not so much you want to forget. You don't want to have to deal with a breakup every time you're dealing with this person. That's the whole idea. You're putting the breakup to the side. You're in contact with this person for the kids. However, there is a lot of expectations from both sides. I'm not blaming one person here. It happens on both ends where one person expects the other person to show up in a certain way and vice versa. You both expect certain things of each other and then when it's not happening, you both get the shits. You both butt heads. But what you quite often tend to forget in the process is that when you're communicating with this person, very rarely do people communicate with their ex in a friendly manner. Very rarely are people very welcoming and, supportive when it comes to their ex. Quite often, especially when you've been the one that's been broken up with and you're the one that's holding on to the hurt and the anger and the resentment. Quite often in those situations, those people like to remind their ex that they're still hurt. They like to remind their ex that they're still angry. They like to remind their ex of how they're feeling. And every interaction, these little reminders come up again. And it's not necessarily by talking about the breakup. It's the passive aggressive tones. It's the being difficult. It's the refusing to cooperate. It's everything else. And this is why co-parenting and dealing with your ex gets so difficult, because even though for some people and so many people, they believe that they're doing the right thing. They believe they're doing the right thing for the kids. However, there's a very high chance that there's a lot of people out there when they're writing messages, there is that little undertone of sarcasm in the text. There is that little, I'm not going to cooperate with them. I'm not going to help them. There is a little bit of that thrown into the mix. And even though it's not being verbalized. It comes across. Because if you know the way you're treating your ex is not how you would treat a good friend, then you know that there's probably some things that you're doing or saying or the way you're behaving is probably not in the kindest way. Now, I'm not telling you to treat your ex like your best friend, especially if you've been through hell and back with them. But I am telling you that you do need to try and put those emotions to the side, because this is why people get to that point of thinking, I wish this person wasn't in my life, because you take on those emotions and every interaction you have, and you're wanting them to know that you're pissed off. You're wanting them to know you're hurt. So you're being that little bit sarcastic, or you're being that little bit angry and resentful towards them. And they're picking up on that. And they're not just going, oh, well, they're still hurt from the breakup. They're just going, well, who do they think they are? And they're just coming back at you. Because you're being sarcastic or rude or angry, they're not just going to turn around and give you an apology or just start being a better person. They're going to fight fire with fire and come back with even more nasty shit. And that's where it escalates. And in your head, you might be thinking, well, I just want an apology. I just want this. I just want you to step up. But putting these expectations on your ex with the dash of sarcasm and all these other emotions that you're throwing in, it's not how it works. And it's like that common rule of kindness. It's like when you go out somewhere and you're in a restaurant and you're an arsehole to the waiter. That waiter is not going to come back. Well, any situation. I shouldn't even say a restaurant and a waiter. Any situation. If you go to a shop or anywhere and you're an arsehole to the person that works there, they're not just going to turn around and say, oh, I'm so sorry, how can I help you? But if you go up to somebody that works there and you approach them in a respectable manner and just say what happened, and I can guarantee you anyone that works in retail or hospitality or any service industry would probably tell you the same thing. When you're dealing with someone who's an arsehole, they're not going to want to cooperate. Same when you speak to online phone people. They don't help you when you're just screaming at them down the phone. They're like, no, I'm not engaging in this. I do not get paid enough for this. I'm out. And that's what a lot of them think. Especially when you're dealing with someone in retail and hospitality. They're like, I don't get paid enough for this shit. I am not dealing with your shit. Don't care. And that goes with anything in life. If you want someone to cooperate with you and help you out, if you're being an arsehole to them, they're not just going to turn around and give you kindness. And that is why so many people get to that point of thinking, I'm over my ex, I can't deal with them anymore. Because you keep going. You both keep going at each other. It's like that tit for tat. One of you just keeps wanting to one up. There is never that moment where you step back and you just think, okay, I can't keep communicating this way. And it's not about giving in to your ex. And I've seen people say that, well, why do I have to be the bigger person? Why can't they be the bigger person? Being the bigger person is not letting your ex win. Being the bigger person is not bowing down and giving in to them. Being the bigger person is choosing to not engage in toxicity anymore, to not engage in their drama. That is being the bigger person. And when you keep being on their level, you'll just keep going to have that same issues. Nothing is going to change unless you change the way you handle it. And you might be thinking, well, why can't my ex change? Why can't my ex do better? Why can't my ex step up? Well, clearly they're showing they're not. But the thing is, our job here, well, my job here, I should say, is not to change your ex. Yes, this episode is talking about their behavior, but we cannot change them. If they're listening to this episode, great. Then hopefully they're going to make some improvement. They're going to step up. They might be wanting to do better. But whoever is listening to this is for you to realize this isn't about waiting for something from your ex. This isn't about waiting for your ex to step up. This isn't about waiting for your ex to change or waiting for your ex to give an apology or worrying about what they're doing in their home. You're being a better person because you're realizing, I can't deal with this shit anymore. I don't need that drama. I'm not engaging. I will respond amicably. I will be a decent human being. That's all that matters. And the thing is as well, when you're being a little sarcastic and you're getting the shits and you may not realize it, but if you know you're speaking to your ex in a way that you wouldn't normally speak to other people, you know that there's probably a bit of sarcasm and everything else thrown in the mix there. And your kids see that. Your kids pick up on that. And that's quite often where they feel like they need to take sides, or they need to support one parent over the other parent, or they start getting hostile towards one parent or angry towards one parent. And even though you think, I'm not turning the kids against the other parent, I'm not doing this, they still pick up on signs. They still hear things being said. They still know what's happening. Kids are not stupid. Don't underestimate what they pick up. They know exactly what's happening. And the moment you choose to let go of all those emotions and you can show up with your ex without having any anger, resentment, or any emotion come up in that interaction, that is what you need. And that is when you can get to a place where you don't have to worry if your ex is still on the planet or not. Because you're able to co-parent amicably. And when you're feeling like this, I wish my ex wasn't around, I wish I didn't have to deal with them. When you're feeling like that, that's because you haven't worked through those emotions. And it is so sad the amount of times I see people say, oh, my ex has just disappeared, my ex is just gone. And I know there's a lot of people out there that say, I wish that was me. And I see that a lot as well. I see people say, I wish that was me. I wish my ex did that. I wish my ex just disappeared. That's easier for you. And in theory, it might be great for you, but it's not what's best for your kids. Your kids don't want the other parent just to disappear. Unless they're really nasty and they've done something to put the kids in harm's way, then yeah, we don't want them around the kids. But if they are doing the best to be there for the kids, or if their kids still want to see this other parent, then you don't want to wish that this other parent is not here. That is the kid's other parent. And one thing that is quite hard to remember for a lot of people is, even though they may be mentally and emotionally exhausting you, there is some benefit that they can add to your life. And I know you're probably listening thinking, Leanne, shut up. There is not. They add no benefit to my life. There is some benefit, I guarantee you. Even if it's a small bit of child support, even if it's that time you get kid-free, there is something that you can get from them that is helping you. Because the idea of looking at it is, this is a kid's parent, and when they're with them, the other parent, the mum, the dad, whoever it is, it's allowing you that time to rest. It's allowing you that time to reset. And if you're not using that time wisely, then I'm going to ask you this question. Why are you not? That is your time for you. So if you're got that time to yourself and you're not using it wisely, use that time for you to really reset and focus on you. But it's also really important to remember, if you didn't have that kid's other parent around helping, or on the small occasion, maybe they don't help often, but maybe it's every now and then, you would get no respite. You wouldn't get that break at all. And some people might think, well, that's selfish. I don't care. I'm happy to have my kids all the time. And yeah, that's great. Who doesn't love having the kids around? But realistically, you do need a break. You do. You cannot do it all 100% all on your own every single day without getting some form of break or some time to look after yourself. You need to reset. You need to look after you. And having that other parent there to give you that opportunity is a true lifesaver. It really is. And it's also important to remember that as much as you don't want that person, or as much as you think life would be easier without them, just also step back and really focus on why this person is in your life. And there was some point that you did love them. That's why you had a kid together. There would have been one point where you did plan this happy future and you did plan this nice life together, and it has fallen apart. Unfortunately, it has fallen apart. However, you do not want to wish that this other person is not in your life just to make it easier for you, because that's depriving your kids of having the other parent. As toxic and as annoying as this other person may be, if that's something you're struggling with, then that's something that you need to work on. Depriving the kids of having another parent because you're struggling with them, that's not a them problem. In the kindest way possible, that's a you problem, and that's something that you need to work through, and that is something that I can help you with, because that's what you need to do. If you're getting triggered by your ex, if you're getting worked up from your ex, if you're at that point where you're thinking, I just don't want to deal with this person anymore, I'm over it, I'm done, then this is what you need to work on. Because as I always say, that good old saying that I always say, you cannot change your ex. So if you're getting triggered, it's time to look at what's triggering you. If you're getting angry and annoyed and frustrated and pissed off every time you see their face, every time you see their name pop up on the messages, anytime you have any form of interaction or you just hear their name in a conversation, you get triggered, you get worked up, you get pissed off, you're just angry. That's what needs to be worked on. That's what you need to heal. And you might be thinking, well, fuck, that's not going to change anything. You've said this is who they are. They're not going to change. So what's going to change? What is going to change is how you choose to handle that, how you choose to show up, how you choose to let that bother you, how you choose to react to what they say. Are you going to take it personally? Are you going to feed into it? Are you going to keep reacting every time they say something? Because I guarantee if you do, that is just going to escalate. That is why there is so much drama. That is why you're probably at that point thinking, I wish I didn't have to deal with this person anymore. And I understand what it's like. As I said at the beginning, I've been there. But then once you get to a place where you're completely emotionally detached, you can co-parent. This person is in your kid's life, not in your life. Or they are partly in your life, but they're in your life for your kids. And any communication you have with them is related to the kids. And any other necessary conversation that you don't want to be a part of, you don't want to respond to, you don't want to be involved in, then don't. You choose how you respond to your ex. You choose how you handle that situation. So your ex could be the biggest arsehole on the planet. And that's who they are. But you have the power in how you respond. You have the power in how you react. You have the power in how you're going to let it affect you. And if you let it affect you, that's the biggest thing. And that's where it falls downhill with so many people. They do let it affect them. They do overanalyze every comment. They do question everything. They do feel like they need to keep proving a point. Even when they know they don't need to, they still feel like they keep having to do it. And then when their ex gets in their head and they start saying all this nasty, negative shit, they start believing it. And then they get in this spiral of keep having to prove them wrong, keep having to justify their decisions. And this behavior, this mentality, more often than not, stems from your confidence. It stems from your self-worth. Because I can guarantee you now, if you are at a place where you're truly confident in yourself and you truly believed in yourself, you wouldn't be fighting with your ex. And you might think to yourself, well, bullshit, Leanne, just because I'm confident doesn't mean I'm not going to fight. No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. It doesn't mean you're going to have a kumbaya moment with your ex. It means that when you are more confident in yourself, you're not at a place where you feel like you have to keep explaining yourself. Because you're confident in your decisions. You know what's right and wrong. It's like, you can believe that if you want. I don't need to explain that. That's okay. You're at a place where you don't need to keep begging for explanations. You don't need to keep wondering why. You don't need to keep wanting an apology. You don't keep needing anything from your ex. So yes, when you are more confident, it doesn't fix everything, but it makes it a hell of a lot easier. And it makes co-parenting so much easier because you handle things in such a different way when you believe in yourself. When you know your worth, when you know your value, when you know what you bring to the table, when you know you are a damn good parent and you don't need to keep proving that to your ex, life is so much easier. Because that's what happens a lot of the times. You feel like you do need to keep proving your point to your ex. You feel like you do need to keep chasing them for things. You feel like you do need to keep showing them that you're a good parent. Let me tell you now, You don't. You don't have to do that. And that is why so many people get in that spiral of thinking, I hate my ex. I wish I didn't have to deal with them. Okay, let me just take it back to what I just said a moment ago. You have the power on how you handle that situation. Let them say what they want to say. That's in their hands. That's their so-called power. And that's how they're trying to use it. Quite often, that's their power of trying to control you. Your power is how you handle that. And you handle that by knowing your worth. You handle that by believing in yourself. You handle that by knowing how to respond. And that's what's important. Having those boundaries, speaking up, being confident in yourself. That's when it all gets so much easier. And in theory, like I said at the beginning, it is easy just to wish they weren't around. But realistically, is that the right thing? Is that morally right to wish that your kid's other parent wasn't around anymore? Yes, it is easier. But the easier option in life is never the right option. It never is. And that's why working through things, going through these feelings, working through it, working through what's upsetting you, working through what's triggering you, working through what's hurting you, that's when it becomes easier. So in the moment, the easy option is to just wish they weren't around. But when you actually do the real work, when you actually take the time to self-reflect, when you actually take the time to look inwards, when you actually take the time to work through everything, that's when it does get easier. So just taking that moment to really look inwards, instead of looking at what your ex is doing and saying, well, they're doing this. They're being an arsehole. They keep accusing me of doing this. They keep saying this. They keep telling people that I'm this kind of parent. Let them. You can't change that. All you can change is how you react and how you handle it, how you show up. What matters to you is your kids and yourself and your family and your friends. If they're telling Bob and Jane down the street that you're a shit parent, who gives a shit? If Bob and Jane aren't even your friends, who cares? And if Bob and Jane are going to believe that version of you without even coming and talking to you and hearing your perspective, then that's a them problem. I'll tell you now, there is nothing I hate more than when people hear gossip, they hear one side of it and they take it as verbatim. Oh, that's what's happened. They're a horrible person. But hey, let's hear both sides perhaps. Let's see what they're actually going through before we just hear their ex's side of the story, because that's their side. Let's hear their side now. So if someone's believing one side of the story about you without coming to you, then you know what? They sound quite toxic. Do you need that energy? I personally wouldn't bother, but hey, that's your choice. So really what I wanted to talk about, or what I want you all to take away from today's episode, is when you start thinking to yourself, I wish I didn't have to deal with my ex. Life would be so much easier without them. I want you to question yourself. Why is it so hard? And I get it at the start. It is hard. And for some people, years down the track, it still is hard. And the reason why it stays hard for so many years for so many people is because they're not doing anything different. If you're handling co-parenting the exact same way and you're getting frustrated at all their messages, you're communicating in the exact same way, you're refusing to cooperate, you're refusing to listen, or maybe they're doing it to you, whatever it is, if everything you're doing in your co-parenting relationship is exactly the same, you're going to keep getting the exact same outcome. And that, my friends, is why so many people get to that point of saying, I wish I didn't have this person in my life. I wish I could just parent all on my own. Because you're not doing anything different. And when you've still got all these emotions caught up in you, you're still angry, you're still hurt, you're still holding on to everything from the breakup, you're going to keep having all these emotions come out every time you deal with them. And you might be thinking to your head, well, no, I don't. I don't get angry. I don't do this. I don't do that. But maybe you do. Maybe there is some underlying anger there that you don't realize. Maybe you're not cooperating with them in a way that you could to make co-parenting easier. Maybe there is a slight grudge you're still holding towards them or towards their new partner. Maybe there is some resentment there that is getting caught up in the way. And who knows? It's probably coming from their end too. But as I always say, This isn't about them. We can't change them. We're here to focus on you and how you show up. So it's time to stop waiting for them to be a better person. It's time to stop waiting for them to step up. Because that's very common, isn't it? Just waiting for them to step up. Why can't they step up? Why can't they be a better parent? You can ask all the whys in the world. But you need to put your focus on you, not on them, and how you show up. Put your focus on you and how you handle the situation. Stop worrying about your ex. You can't change them. Focus on you and what you can control. And then I guarantee when you get to that place, when you do emotionally detach and you let go of all those emotions, co-parenting gets so much easier. And instead of wishing you didn't have an ex to be or to co-parent with, and instead of wishing this person wasn't around, you're now grateful that you have this person in your life so you can get some free time. You can get some time for yourself. You can get some time to go out and date again. You can get some time to do solo things, holidays, solo dating, whatever it is you want to do. You get that time. Because if you didn't have this person in your life, your world would be very different. And there are people out there that do co-parent, not co-parent, they parent 100% of the time. Massive credit to you guys, because that's a huge job. A huge job. So if you've got a partner there, if you've got an ex-partner there, that is there willing to step up. And I do see it a lot. Ex-partners, they're wanting to step up, wanting to be involved, but they're getting pushed out because of all those breakup emotions are taking over. Be grateful if you have an ex that's wanting to be involved. Be grateful if you have an ex that's wanting to be present in your kids' lives. Yes, it may piss you off. Yes, you may wish they weren't around. But they're not there for you. They're there for your kids. And if they're showing up, take that as a positive. And maybe they're not stepping up at all. Either way, when you keep focusing on that, when you keep asking them, when are you going to step up? When are you going to do better? When are you going to change? It's never going to happen. You're putting these unrealistic expectations on them, and you're setting yourself up for just more anger, more frustration, more hurt, more letdown, because you're expecting something from your ex that's never going to happen. This is why you need to focus on you. And that's when you keep having all this resentment and hurt and you keep having all these expectations from them. That's when you get to a point where it's like, shit, I wish I could just do this all on my own. So, going forward, what I want you all to take away from this is please work through your hurt. Please work through those emotions. Work through anything that you get triggered from by your ex, by your ex's new partner, by anyone in the dating world. Any of those triggers that come up, that needs to be worked through. And this is what I can help you with. So if that has resonated with any of you, then let's have a chat. Grab a free chat. It is in my bio. Send me a DM. I can send you a direct link. It's on all my socials. Grab a free chat and let's work through this. Because I know what it's like to wish that you didn't have your ex around. But it is important to work through that because it's not about wishing anything of them. It's about focusing on you and you letting go of the past so you don't let that interfere with how you show up every day. You don't let that interfere or get in the way of how you co-parent. Because I promise you now, once you get rid of those emotions, you do co-parent very, very differently. Well, actually, I won't say you would co-parent very, very differently, but it does become very much easier because you don't have any emotions there. That expectation, if anything goes wrong, you're okay, you're fine because you're not emotionally attached. If they're saying nasty things, you don't take it personally. If they don't respond to messages, you don't take it personally. If they're late, you're like, okay. And it's not about letting them win. It's not about bowing down for them or giving into them. It's not about that at all. It's about picking your battles. And sometimes you need to bite your tongue. Sometimes you need to wonder or ask yourself, I should say, is this worth questioning? If I bring this up to my ex and tell them that I'm pissed off about this, what do I think the outcome is going to be? Is this going to achieve anything constructive or anything positive? Because there's a good chance if you're bringing up some sort of criticism or you're trying to critique them or tell them something towards your ex, they're not going to take it as constructive feedback. They're going to take it personally and they're going to get on the defense. So really pick your battles. And as I always say, you're not bowing down. You're not being the bigger person for them. You're doing it for you and for your kids. And that's what's important. So please reach out if you need any extra support with any of this to help you through this process of co-parenting. It's a fun challenge, isn't it? But it can be so much easier when you let the past go. And that's what you all need to remember. So thank you, everyone. And I really do hope you all got something from this episode. And if you have any questions, you have any feedback, you have any comments on any of the episodes or this one in particular, then reach out, let me know. Share your feedback on Apple or Spotify or YouTube, wherever you listen to it. Let me know if you're loving the show. Share it with your single parent friends. And most importantly, I just want you all to remember, moving forward is about you. And I cannot emphasize this enough. When you're going through a breakup, there are so many people that focus on what their ex is doing, what they're saying, how they're showing up, what they're doing with their new partner, whatever else it is. That's nothing that you can control or change. As much as you want to, you can't. Keep your focus on you. And really, it's an easy sentence, isn't it? And it sounds easy. But when you're in that situation, it's not. When you're co-parenting, it's not. It's easy to get caught up on what they're doing and questioning things. But try not to. And if you need help with reframing that focus or keeping that focus on you and not on them, then please reach out. That is what I'm here for. Grab yourself a free chat and let's work through this. So thank you, everyone. I hope you got something valuable from this episode. And until next week, I'll be in your ears then.
Thank you for joining us on the Life After Plus One podcast. If you loved what you heard today and looking for some further support, then jump onto our website, lifeafterplusone.com. Plus, don't forget to check out our Instagram page for further resources and inspo. You can find all the links in the show notes. And remember, you're not alone on this path. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep exploring your amazing life after Plus One.